Rayon is a manufactured fiber composed of regenerated cellulose. Rayon is probably the first man-made fiber that has been commercialized as early as 1895. But the probability of making an artificial fiber or man-made fiber just like silk has been predicted by Robert Hooke in 1664. But the credit of inventing rayon fiber has been given to Count Hilaire de Chardonnay, and later he has been called as father of rayon. His team's untiring efforts and research on rayon took 29 years for them to come out with a commercial fiber, and they were awarded with a patent in 1884. The first commercial rayon that is produced is nitrocellulose, and then by 1919 many factories started producing rayon, and it has become one of the fibers along with the natural fibers that were available during that time. But after the invention of this rayon, there were some problems with the consumers because there were some cellulosic derivative fibers were also available in the market, and so they were finding it difficult to differentiate rayon from other fibers. So it became imperative to define rayon at the time. The Textile Fiber Product Identification Act defines rayon as a manufactured fiber composed of regenerated cellulose in which substituents have replaced not more than 15% of the hydrogens of the hydroxyl groups. Production of rayon fiber. Actually, rayon fiber production is very simple. Now, because it is a regenerated cellulosic fiber, the cellulose is taken in raw form, that is from the nature, and then it is transformed into a chemical structure, and then from there again it comes out in the form of a regenerated cellulose. It is a very simple process, but there are two principal types of producing rayon. One is cuproammonium rayon and another one is viscose rayon. But there is another type also which is called as high wet modulus rayon, and which has high wet strength. Among the three methods, viscose rayon method is very popular, and the fiber is also very popular among the consumers. And so viscose rayon has become commercially successful, and it has been produced thereafter. Then coming to the manufacture of this viscose rayon fiber, the raw material for this is a natural cellulose, maybe taken from the cotton lint or wood chips. Actually, making this rayon is called as bed spinning, because there is a wet process, that is there is a spinning bath in which the fibers are coagulated. In the beginning, that wood chips are taken, then they are cooked and then bleached. They are again treated and then pressed in the form of sheets of white wood pulp containing the cellulose. These sheets are again steeped in a alkali solution like caustic soda for some time, and then it becomes an alkali cellulose. This alkali cellulose is, the sheets are shredded to make a white flakes, still in the form of a alkali cellulose. Then there is one solution called carbon disulfide, and this solution is added to the cellulose crumbs, and the cellulose crumbs into cellulose xanthate. Still cellulose is in the form of crumbs, it has not taken up the solution form. In order to make it in the form of a spinning solution, cellulose xanthate crumbs are dissolved in weak alkali, and then you find that the whole thing comes out in the form of a highly viscous solution. And this solution is kept for some more time, maybe aged for some time, 2 to 3 days, in order to make it more viscous, and then it is taken for the spinning. In that, whether the additives of the spinning solution may be added at sometimes, and to this like pigments which color the whole fiber, or sometimes this titanium dioxide is being added in order to bring down the luster. And then this dope which is formed like this is filtered to remove any foreign matter in that, and then vacuum treated in order to remove air bubbles in that. And then air bubbles, if they are present, they interfere with the production of the continuous filament. That is why it should be vacuum treated and then ready. And then this particular dope solution is forced through the spinnerets into a coagulating bath. So, this bath contains sulfuric acid, sodium sulphate and some additives like glucose and also zinc sulphate. And the dope comes out through the spinneret into this spinning bath. What happens is this linear way, it gets coagulated over there, and then this will be collected through the filament comes out of this particular thing. This is almost a pure cellulose. Cellulose xanthate, which is in a solution form, has been regenerated in this acid solution and coagulated and then regenerated in the form of a pure cellulose. Even though little more impurities are present which can be removed later. Then these 5 filaments which come out in that form, they are sometimes doubled and drawn in order to improve the orientation, the molecular chains to the fiber axis in order to improve the strength. These filaments thus drawn and drawn over their length will be taken up to the spinning. We have 3 methods of spinning. One is the pot or box method, in which the filaments are taken into a funnel shaped device present in a cylindrical box, and this funnel will be revolving up and down, and whereas the cylinder laterally revolves, and the filament that comes out through this funnel will be depositing on the walls of the cylinder and thus forming a hollow cake. The hollow cakes are removed from the cylinder and then they are washed to remove any traces of other chemicals present in that, and also they may be treated sometimes with some other chemicals and then washed, rinsed, dried, and then they are wound on spools. And in another method that is called spool spinning, in which the fibers that come out of the spinnerets, they are taken over the rollers and they are made to wind around the cylinders which are perforated. These perforated cylinders will facilitate the further processing later. So, after it is wound on the cylinder, the cylinders, after attaining certain weight, they will be removed and then put up to certain processing like washing and treatment, and again washing, drying, everything takes place, and after that they will be wound on kind of package that is required. And then another process called continuous process or continuous spinning, wherein the filaments from the spinneret are taken and then they are washed and then treated and then rinsed, and again they are dried and then wound on different spools. This is how we will be able to make a rayon fiber. Generally, rayon fibers under microscope looks like having uniform width and also they are cylindrical, but they contain a longitudinal lines, we call them as striations. And also when you take the cross sectional view, then you find that it is not cylindrical or not round, but it is serrated. That is because when this gets coagulated in the acid bath, zinc sulphate which is present will be removed, and thus it takes up the serrated structure. And this serrated structure is important in order to get the more luster, and that is why the serrated structures are present. And whereas in high weight modulus, it almost looks like another artificial fibers having a cylindrical longitudinal view, almost cross sectional shape. That is because zinc sulphate is not that much used in case of high weight modulus, whereas in ordinary general rayon you find zinc sulphate being one of the important additives present. When you take the chemical structure of these things, it is regenerated cellulose, there is no doubt, it is only a cellulose that is present, but it differs from other cellulosic fibers like cotton. actually the degree of polymerization is less when compared to cotton. In case of rayon, it will be around 300 to 500 degrees of polymerization, and whereas it goes from 6000 to 10,000 in case of cotton. Because of that, cotton being very stable and rayon may not be stable for some chemical structure, some of the properties definitely differ from the other cellulosic fibers. Usually rayon is around 35 to 45% amorphous, and then the rest of it is crystalline. But the problem here is that the amorphous structure which is present, it will not be the molecular chains will not be parallel to each other. That is one of the problems, and that is why it is not having very good strength. For rayon, it is highly lustrous fiber, and because of its striation shows much light, and sometimes this reflection is not very important for the fabrics, and so it is made as semi dull and dull by using white pigment called titanium dioxide, and so that consumers prefer this particular material, and it also looks like silk when the luster is being removed. And then the density of the fiber, it is heavy fiber just like cotton, because it is also a cellulosic fiber. It contains a density of 1.5 grams per cube centimeter. And then coming to the strength of the fiber, it is having only medium strength, inferior to cotton and silk, which are natural fibers, but its strength is better than definitely wool fiber. This fiber is having problem with the wet strength. The wet strength will be reduced to 50%. So one has to be very careful while taking care of these fabrics in laundering. You should not use much of friction for removal of dust or anything, because as such the fiber is very clean and very good, and it will not actually deposit the dirt, and so there is not much problem with these things. The strength of the fiber can be controlled in case of high wet modulus, wherein this particular high wet modulus fiber is produced in order to have high wet strength, and so there is no problem with these fibers in usage, and these are used only in the functional materials and not in the general rayon garments or fabrics that are available in the market. Then coming to elongation and elasticity of this fiber. Rayon is very good elastic fiber. It is having high elongation of 15 to 20%, but its elastic recovery, like other cellulosic fibers, it is also less, and so it is difficult to get back the same after you stretch the same shape, and so you have to wash it in order to bring back to its position. And then coming to the resiliency of the fiber is also low when compared to silk and wool fibers. Being cellulosic, it has the disadvantage of having low wrinkle resistance. Thus, it is imperative to give some kind of finish in order to improve its wrinkle resistance. Otherwise, it is soft to touch, there is no doubt, it is like other artificial fibers, but the problem here is that it will crease also along with the softness. Then after this, we have dimensional stability. Relaxation shrinkage is more than the inherited shrinkage in the rayon. It shrinks more than the cotton. Once it is shrunk in the first time, then the shrinkage later is not much, and so this can be used as it is without any problem, and some finishes, pre-shrinkage finishes are given in order to increase dimensional stability of the fiber. In coming to the drapability of the fiber is very good actually, because it is having a very good fall, and also it has the weight, because of this it is very much required for the draperies, and most of the curtains will contain at least part of this rayon fiber. Then one more important property of rayon is its absorbency. It absorbs a high amount of moisture compared to cotton and linen, and so this is a very comfortable fiber whenever it is mixed or as it is used in apparel fabrics. And also its heat conductivity is very good, and so totally the comfort of the fabric is very good. and in any standard conditions the fiber can take up the moisture without any problem. Coming to the thermal properties of the fiber, the heat conductivity is very good. Once you wear it, the heat that is coming through the skin from the body, it will be dissipated into the atmosphere, because it is a hydrophilic fiber. There is no problem at all with that. So, the wearer will feel very, very comfortable. And then coming to the burning properties, when you take it near the flame, nothing will happen because it is not a thermoplastic fiber, but when you put it in the flame, it takes up the fire easily. Burning is very, very fast, like a paper it burns, and then when you remove it from the flame, it continues to burn and leaving a residue of a grey white fluffy ash. And it also gives the a burning smell of paper, because it burns faster, and we may require some kind of finish in order to bring down the retardancy of this particular fire. And so, for the sleepwear and all it is used, and so one has to take care of this particular property of this one. And rayon decomposes over 150 degrees centigrade, and so low ironing temperatures are recommended for rayon fiber. Coming to the chemical properties of the fiber, when you look at the effect of alkalis on rayon fiber, rayon is not as resistant as the other cellulosic fibers like cotton and linen. It is being affected by concentrated alkalis and also weak alkalis at higher temperatures. One has to be very careful in taking care of these fabrics during laundry. We should not use very hard soaps here, and very mild soaps should be used for this. And then coming to the effect of acids, just like other cellulosic fibers, rayon getting disintegrated in acids, and mild acids at lower temperatures may not do any harm, but if you prolonged exposure to this mild acids may damage the fiber. But hot and mild acids as well as, or dilute acids as well as concentrated acids are going to damage the fabric, and so these should be avoided in usage. Then coming to the effect of bleaches, usually rayon fiber is having very good white color, and it maintains also white color throughout. If bleaches are required, there is no problem, we can use them, but at a lower concentrations and at the room temperature. We can use sodium hypochlorite, we can use sodium perborate also, and hydrogen peroxide, all these at a lower concentration, so that nothing will happen to the fiber. But generally in laundries we do not require to use any of the bleaches. Then coming to the miscellaneous properties, effect of sunlight. This is one fiber which is resistant to sunlight when compared to most of the natural fibers. So, this is a boon for many people, and that is why this fiber is being used in draperies. When you put it in the sunlight, it is resistant to certain extent, but prolonged time white rayons turn into yellow. We should not expose it very long time. But if it is combined with other fibers and then made into draperies, so definitely the color will be maintained in this fibers. Then coming to the effect of mildew and other molds, and being cellulosic fiber, it has inherited character and it becomes a very good host for the growth of all these molds. These fabrics should not be left in a damp condition for a very long time. Then coming to the moths, usually cloth moths have no effect on the rayon fiber because it is not a natural fiber, it is a man-made fiber. But silverfish will damage the fiber because the degree of polymerization is very less, and it is something like a paper, and so these silverfish will damage the fabric. And then effect of perspiration. Actually rayon gets affected by perspiration. More than the fiber, color gets affected, and thus it becomes unsightly, and so you have to be careful. Soon after wearing, the fabric has to be washed so that the perspiration will be removed, because perspiration may be either alkaline or acidic depending upon the person, and so it should not be retained in the fabric, it should be removed. The finishes that are given to rayon, the first one is the calendering in order to produce very smooth surface, and then pre-shrinking treatments are given to this material in order to make it more satisfactory to the customers when they use this material. It will not shrink anymore after giving the particular pre-shrinking finishes. And then embossing. The embossing will provide some aesthetic look on the material, and also the stiffening. Sometimes the fabrics are very limpy and people may not like it, and so sometimes and stiffness finishes are given to this material. And then the wrinkle is a problem here. The fabric may be given wrinkle resistance finishes, so that the customer will not find it difficult to use these materials. Without ironing they can use this. And then flame retardancy is another finish that is given to this, and with this the fabric will not take up the fire easily, and so when it is used in sleepwear and others, it is going to be very safe for the children especially. We have many other finishes may be given to the material, but this is all depends upon the type of material, for the type of end use for which it is being used. Coming to the consumer preference, why rayon fiber is being preferred by the consumers? Rayon has very good properties, like it is having very good absorbency and also very good heat conductivity. That is why it is highly comfortable to the wearer, and also it is possible to produce versatile materials starting from the lightweight to very heavy fabrics, and so people like to use this kind of materials from rayon. And also it is very highly economical, because whenever it is blended with something else or as it is produced, it is having low cost, and it is also called an artificial silk and also poor man's silk, and so people from middle class and also lower middle class will be preferring these materials because they are highly lustrous, and also the cost of the material is very less. It is possible to produce rayon in a durable form because use of ply-ons and also very good fabric construction, we will be able to produce very durable fabrics out of these rayons. And rayons can also be maintained white. When white fabrics are required, it is better to go for the rayon rather than the other fibers, because they become yellow in usage, but not the rayon fiber. And other type of things that are there in rayon is that it takes up very brilliant colors, and the prints that come on the fabric are very brilliant when compared to cotton and other fibers. So, these very bright colors and bright prints preferred by the consumers very well. And also one more thing is that till it is torn, the fabric maintains the same color and also the prints, and then it slips at the seams. This is one thing that we have to take care of this material, and it has very good sunlight resistance also used for the draperies and other materials. Then coming to the blending of this material and the blends that are available in the market. The fiber can be blended with cotton, linen, polyester, rarely with wool and some of the other fibers also, but usually you find them mostly in cotton blends and also polyester blends. In suitings and all it is being added because it gives very good softness. So, other fibers will not contribute to softness, whereas this material will provide softness. In case of terling and all, that is polyester and all, it provides more absorbency, the softness and also sunlight resistance to the fabrics. This is being preferred in many of the blends that are coming up in the market. Coming to the uses of this material, rayon fiber represents less than 4% of the total fiber consumed in world and finds important market in apparel fabrics, primarily women's wear. Non-woven fabrics intended for industrial wipes, medical supplies, diapers, sanitary napkins and tampons, they comprise a substantial portion of the industrial and consumer market. A considerable amount of rayon is used as flock in the production of flocked fabrics, and the rayon fiber is also used in draperies, upholstery and sleepwear fabrics. In apparel, they are used as accessories, blouses, dresses, jackets, lingerie, linings, millinery, slacks, sport shirts, suits, ties, and so on. In home furnishings, they are used as bedspreads, blankets, curtains, draperies, sheets, slip covers, tablecloths, upholstery, and so on. Industrial uses consists of industrial products, medical surgical products, non-woven products, tire cord, and so on. Other uses of rayon include the feminine hygienic products. And then coming to the care of rayon fabric. Rayon fabrics have to be really taken care of while laundering these materials, because they have a very less bed strength, and also you have to use mild soaps and other things. So, we have to be very careful while washing these materials. It is best to dry clean them in order to actually maintain their luster and also the shape and other things. But if it has to be washed, certain precautions need to be taken for laundering of these materials. The first one is that we should use a mild soap. We should not use the soaps which are very hard. And also it is better not to use the soap directly on the material. Only some soap suds can be used, taken it in hand, and then it can be rubbed over the material. But much friction should not be used on these materials, because it loses its strength when wet. And so, we have to be careful while washing these materials, and use of very less kneading and squeezing is required. Washing is over, they should not be hung over the hangers and all. You should take rust free ones, because rust will appear on the material. And another thing is that it should not be hanged like that, and it should be put up on the flat surface, even on the floor or on the flat surface it should be put up and dried. And then after dried, it should be ironed. Ironing, usually it is not done on the right side, it should be done on the wrong side of the fabric, so that it does not become very shiny. Wrong side ironing is actually recommended. And another thing is that you should not use iron at high temperatures. At lower temperatures, it should be ironed. And after each wash, if it is not ironed, but after frequently you have to iron after 1 or 2 washes.